Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today, I have with us he's the actor, writer, and director of a movie that's out on Blu-ray right now, and it's called Depravity. I have with Scott King. Scott, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on, man. So tell us a little bit about Depravity.
Yeah, so Depravity is about two brothers that suddenly lose their father. So they're in, not the greatest kind of relationship with each other. So one has to travel back, help him, kind of sort out everything. And in the process, they end up finding these videotapes that end up to be snuff films. And it kind of unravels a chain of events, and they're fighting for survival.
Wow. That sounds like a fun ride.
Yeah.
I love movies like that. I mean, it reminds me of a movie 8 millimeter with Nicolas Cage. It's one of
Yeah.
my favorites.
Yes. Yeah, I
So,
love that movie.
I love that movie. Underrated movie. Definitely
Yeah.
underrated movie.
Yep.
Now, was it hard to work on both sides of the camera when it came to acting as well as doing the directing?
Um, in moments, it did. Especially, it was more so just like when I was doing the scenes because, I'm not there to watch each and every movement to know that it's, kind of what I'm looking for. So I had to go back, watch the camera, make sure that everything was good. But I had a great DP, so he definitely helped me along the way. But I actually initially never intended to be an actor in it. It was kind of a thing that needed to happen. The actor that I originally had to play the character that I did could no longer commit to the film. So so I ended up having to kind of take on that role because I didn't want to be like I didn't want to do everything. I strictly wanted to focus on just writing and directing this. But during the circumstances, I went in and did a role.
It happens. I hear
Yeah.
it happens often, and there's a lot of new filmmakers out there that who are about to make their first film or thinking about making their first film. You have to be able, as a director, you have to be able to jump in where needed.
Yeah. Yeah, especially on this film too, because it was already like a skeleton crew. So if the actors weren't acting, they were also doing crew stuff. And I didn't have, like a guy specific for lighting and sound, and like we all kind of just had to pitch in and do everything. I think there was like a total of 8 people that were working on this thing,
Wow,
and half of those were cast. So so yeah, we did it all.
wow. Now, now this movie has snuff films in it. Now,
Mhm.
were you now? How graphic did you want to go with this movie? Did you want to hold back a little bit, or did you want to show the audience the nasty things
Yeah.
that you can see in snuff films?
So this one is definitely more mild. I couldn't go all that violent. I would have loved to, but due to you know funding and the budget and everything, I couldn't go all that graphic. So it was, like I said, it's a little more mild. It's it's still violent and bloody, but it's not like it shows everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what gave you the inspiration for this film?
So I'm a big like slasher fan, and I knew that I wanted to do something that had somewhat of these killers with masks and everything. And I'm a huge fan of like home invasion films and movies that really take place in one setting over the course of a night. Um, so the two films that really inspired me on this film were The Strangers and a film called Vacancy.
Great
Um,
movies.
yeah, so those were really the two of my favorite movies. And I really just kind of jumbling around the story a little bit on, what it would be like if somebody that, was close to you, was making these type of films that you didn't know, and then, they, suddenly pass away. What are the chain effects that would happen, if these characters had other people involved? And so it kind of just was climbing the ladder in my brain on kind of creating the story itself. But I knew that I wanted to make some type of slasher involving one setting and try to make it as realistic of a story as possible.
Because I mean, it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. It's a sad thing. Like when a loved one passed, and you do have to clean up their house. I had to do that with my mom a couple years ago back, and you find out some shit about your fucking parents that you don't want to fucking know about.
Exactly.
Parents, people, if you got fucking strange fucking shit, dildos or something in your house, please hide that shit so your fucking kids don't find it when you fucking die. Like,
yes,
make sure it's like thrown away or something. Because
because your parents are people too, they do everything that adults do. So it's you're gonna find some stuff.
You start looking at their search history in their laptop and shit. You're like, what?
Yeah. Or if you're your grandparents, you find a little stash of theirs, and you're just like, all right, didn't want to find this. So, but so it's like, what do you do when you end up finding, snuff films that, your dad was involved with, and you end up finding out that people you were close with, had this dirty baggage on them, and, you find out, and now they have to kill you because they want to keep their secret tight.
Crazy story. A friend of mine, she was telling me that her and her brother went to like an estate sale.
Yeah.
And what came when the lot they bought was a whole bunch of VHS.
Mm-hmm.
And they watched it, and it was a bunch of orgy like videos. Like these people own this place in like San Diego, California.
Yeah.
And they were just filming orgies but you just don't know what people have. Like people's house and people's stuff.
That's like the personal stuff,
you don't know what is behind people's closed doors. You really don't. I can seem like the nicest guy in West. There could be dead bodies in his door behind me.
Exactly.
You just don't know.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, just because they're family or they're your father or your spouse or whatever, like that doesn't mean that they don't have secrets or things that they do that you don't know about. If you look at the BTK killer, he was your normal everyday married guy, but he was also a mass serial killer. And people are like, oh, how do you do that? We never even knew. It's like, well, yeah, because they're good at doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They're manipulators. They portray to be the person that they want you to see, and then they have that side to them that they're capable to do those things.
Exactly, because most serial killers look like you and I, Scott. They don't look like some creepy guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Corner. And that most people think when they think of a serial killer, the creepy guy. Or, hello. Yeah. No, he's not the serial killer. It's you and I.
I mean, if you look at Ted Bundy, he was a charming guy.
Yeah.
That was, his tactic was he knew he was a charming guy, and that's how he got his victims.
Yes, exactly. By the way, Scott and I are not serial killers. I know I'm not. I'm not serial killers.
I just get actors and put it on camera.
Yes. Now, okay, so when you were filming these snuff film roles,
mm-hmm.
When you talk to your actors, did you make sure they were comfortable with filming certain scenes?
Yeah. So beforehand, I got with all of the actors to make sure that they were comfortable. Um, that that was one of the things. So it's like, I didn't want to push the boundaries too much, especially because you do have to find actors and people that are willing to do this stuff, and sometimes that's hard to do if you want to be overly graphic. Um, so before I signed anybody on, we had that conversation of what was going to be needed and everything, and they were okay with it. But actually, I was only there for two of the snuff film shoots. All of the other ones were actually shot by the actors when they got back home. So they knew, family members and other actors that they had worked with, and I was like, okay, great, put on your uniform and do a scene. And I even got my wife all bruised up and bloody and threw her in the bathtub and was like, all right, just lay there, and I was just taking the camera and just like rubbing a knife around her and everything. And yeah, so that's what we had to do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Your poor wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a team player.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. Yeah. She did a lot behind the scenes in Depravity. So she was definitely, she was my saving grace.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, did you open the door when you were making this movie? Were you thinking about a possibility of a sequel, or is that something?
I mean, during the writing process, I think that's always one thing that you try to consider is sequels or even a prequel or something like that. But I kind of wanted to just do like a one and done, because my goal for this film was just to kind of make it as realistic as possible, especially involving like the storyline and everything. And I think in order to keep a film, in a realistic state, to not do sequels. Because if you were to watch this, you would be like, yeah, a sequel is not needed. If anything, a prequel would work. But again, I think a film like Depravity would kind of lose its integrity if a sequel or prequel was made.
I agree, and I kind of wish that. Listen, I would say in the next couple of weeks I'm gonna do like a top 5 or top 10 like best direct sequels to a movie.
Yeah,
because there's really not that many.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's most movies are great. Like the most recent one I would say is Halloween 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween 2018 did not need kills and ends. It really didn't.
Yeah,
it was good by itself.
Yeah,
and like I don't know. There's a lot of filmmakers that think, okay, just because this movie is done great or it's popular, it has a cult following, we have to make sequels, and that's not always the case. Sometimes one and done is the best.
Yeah, it really is, and that's kind of what when I was writing like the ending to this movie, I was like, okay, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to bring these characters back. Kind of want them to just be done with. So it's like, okay, I have to provide enough information where the audience is like satisfied, where, I don't need to come back and do something else with it.
Now, when you were making this movie, production time, from the time you came up with the actual concept to production time, how long did it take?
So I started writing the script back in 2016. And it went through different, storylines and titles. I went through so many different actors and crew members. So from 2016, I started production in 2022. So it took me a few years. And it was really just trying to solidify the script and get, a solid cast and crew attached to it, and then getting the funds. So I did a few Indiegogo campaigns, and they all just failed miserably. And then I was like, okay, I need to see about getting some help. Maybe, the campaign isn't strong enough, So I kind of did some kind of looking around on what made campaigns, more popular, and, trying just to get the word out there. I got new artwork made for the film and everything like that. And then when I did my final campaign, that's when I got enough to start production on it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a tough thing. Like, I've had Jay Ford on my show, who's like the master of crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And so many filmmakers, their campaigns never get off the ground floor. It's I think it was something like 80% of crowdfundings fail.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and it's a very tough thing. Especially when you are going against people that have a better grasp on crowdfunding and already have a reputation. Your campaign is just going to get swept under the water. You're not going to be able to reach their type of publicity. So and even then, when I did in this campaign, I reached not the full budget, but close enough. So my goal was to do 10,000, and I ended up raising just shy of 6,000, I think. And then my wife and we fronted the rest of it to complete production.
That's good.
So,
well,
yeah.
By the way, Scott, how can we find DEPRAVITY?
So right now it is available on Blu-ray. You can go to my website, macabrepicturesllc.com, and you can purchase a Blu-ray from there. I'm also in the works of trying to get it on Vudu, Amazon, and then eventually I would like to release it on Tubi.
Awesome. Listen, everyone, the website is down in the description, so definitely click and grab a copy of it. All right, Scott, this is the fun part of the interview. I'm going to ask you 3 random horror questions.
All right.
And the first one is going to be based off a scenario of your movie. What is one thing in your house that you would not want someone to find if you died?
Geez. One thing that I would not want them to find.
Your kids or a stranger, I should say.
Probably my old cell phone.
Ooh, which kind did you have? Do you have like the Nokia brick or?
No, it was an iPhone. But there's a lot of stuff on that phone that I wouldn't want them to Yeah. So
cell phones
don't open up the phone.
Dangerous. Yes.
Yeah.
Cell phones are dangerous.
They are. Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of encrypting evidence on that thing.
Yeah. So everyone's cell phone.
Yeah.
All right. The second question: what filmmaker or horror filmmaker would you say you got the most inspiration from as a filmmaker yourself?
Probably Tobe Hooper. I really he's a big inspiration of mine, along with like Rob Zombie and Eli Roth and Wes Craven and all of those. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorite horror films, so Tobe Hooper will always be a huge inspiration for me.
Tobe Hooper is iconic, and
yes.
I'm kind of sad that he's like one of the filmmakers like Wes Craven I didn't get a chance to meet.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had so many like underrated films too, like The Fun House and Life Force and all of these things. And it's like uh, they kind of got pushed
Yeah.
on the back burner a little bit.
And so many other filmmakers, have gotten inspiration from him over the years. I mean,
Yeah,
Wes Craven talks about it as well, who's probably my favorite horror filmmaker.
yeah.
So Tobe Hooper is definitely iconic,
Oh
definitely
yeah,
before
for
his
sure.
time. All right, last question: who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of horror villains?
Leatherface.
Okay, so that's one. So you need it's four.
Leatherface. I would do Jason. Um, Freddy, and I'm gonna go Victor Crowley.
Over Michael Myers.
Yeah,
Victor Crawley, by the way, is absolutely fucking brutal.
yeah, I love Victor Crowley. Yeah,
People talk,
I love the Hatchet films. They're just like indie goodness all the way
yeah,
around. Like Adam Green just killed it with those films, and
yeah,
they're all enjoyable.
exactly. And
Yeah,
people talk about how brutal Art the Clown is, which he is, but he
hmm
don't have shit on Victor Crawley. Like
yeah,
Victor Crawley
yeah.
just is relentless, and he don't fucking play.
And I love the setting. Like I just love Louisiana and the swamp and just
The
like
Bayou
the
look, yeah,
backstory. Like I don't know. Like Victor Crowley just wins it for me.
yes. Victor Crawley, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, where can everyone find you, my friend?
So you can find me on Facebook just as Scott King and Instagram on at Scott E Fear.
Awesome, Scott. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yes, absolutely.
You're more than welcome to come on anytime to promote anything, my friend.
Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Scott King. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time. Have a good one.